Then you start to see a year later, or a year or two later, that kind of phased introduction of first the NWA, then Ric Flair, then Eric Bischoff, then Goldberg, then even Sting eventually. It seemed in a way that the talent that waited and bid their time and sat out on their contracts were the ones that ultimately were the ones that got the introduction, because guys like yourself and Dallas, who came over in that first wave, didn't get that same, the vignettes and the introductions, and you kind of came in cold. They didn't really spend time developing who was Buff Bagwell, educate an audience who may never have watched you in terms of your accolades and your achievements. It was, here's this guy. Whereas when it came to the NWO and Sting and everyone else like that, it was like the brand equity came with those characters. When I know you were one of the first to, sign with the WWF when you had your AOL Time Warner contract in place. Going back to March 2001 and that last Nitro in Panama City, and then the emergency talent meeting that was called at the power plant a couple of days later. Did you, at the end of March, have a sense that there was a real opportunity on the table? You've already mentioned that actually if WCW had put WWF out of business, it wouldn't have been good. Did you have a sense that this could be the next chapter of your career, or did you always feel that potentially you're on borrowed time because you were a WCW guy through and through?
Well, let me tell you something I'm sure I've probably said it maybe once, but I don't think I've said it more than once. But Vince actually called me when WCW, when I was still employed with WCW before, I don't think we were quite beating them on the consecutive basis yet, but they reached out to me, Vince and me on the phone together, Vince McMahon and Buff Bagwell, and they wanted to do the wine and dining thing that I'd heard about, which is Vince flies you first class with your wife up to New York, and then you get a limousine to his house. You have dinner, and then you come back to the airport, and then you talk about your deal, and you fly home. Well, me and my second wife did that, Erica. We flew to meet Vince. WCW. I don't think Eric even still knows this to this day, but I flew up there and to see what was going on, and when I got to there was a Holiday Inn, I remember we got to, and something happened. I can't remember the story, but it was where Vince couldn't make it, and Shane and me talked, and we just talked at the airport at a Holiday Inn, and then I flew back home, but it was under the grounds of I was going to the WWF. Well, I signed my contract that I was under right then. I signed that after I broke my neck, and Eric let me sign my contract while laying in the hospital bed. He called me up and he goes, "Hey man," I goes, "I know you're not worried about this, but your deal that we handshook on is still your deal. So we just want you to know you're good to go." And I said, "Eric, I don't know that. I'm very nervous." So he sent over my contract. I made the biggest mistake of my life by trying to do the right thing. The right thing for Eric would have been to turn to make sure the money's right that we agreed on and sign the contract. I could have got several things removed from my contract being Buff Bagwell, but that wouldn't have been professional. Eric Bischoff gave me my contract that I wanted without any arguments while I was laying in a hospital bed. And you just don't turn and go, "Well, I want this removed, I want that removed." So I had a basic WCW contract with a lot of money, but still, it was nothing removed. So when Vince got to me and saw my contract, he's like, "Man, you signed a regular contract." I go, "I know, Vince." He goes, "I can't touch it." He goes, "We'll do business, but we're not going to do business yet. Thank you so much for your time. Bye. Thanks, Vince. Bye." And I was kind of glad because I didn't want to go to Eric Bischoff and go, "Hey, man, I'm leaving." That would have been horrible. But if I would have, it would have been a whole different story.
So what era are we talking this? What year are we talking? that you were having these
I don't know exactly looking back because it's been so long, but I would say a year and a half before the end. So I would have said 98, probably 98, 99, maybe, that he came to me and realized that there was nothing he could do to my contract because I signed a 3-year deal and we was in that. So it would have been 98 because I broke my neck in August of 98. No, excuse me, April 22nd, 1998. And my contract was signed after that. So really close after that. So I would say, so you got 98, you got 99, 2000, and 2001. And my contract, the reason I was one of the first to sign with the WWF and Dallas and those guys is because we had to. Our contracts were up. We didn't have the luxury of sitting home like Lex and Sting and some guys. They could sit at home and get paid their regular contract and see what's going to happen. Me and Dallas couldn't do that. Our contracts were up. So we had to jump ship. We had to go in. And the first ones in get bloody, they say. And that's exactly what happened. We got bloodied.